right. We are live.
Yeah.
So first thing I wanted to ask you, so the Twitch leak.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we have numbers now.
Yep, we have numbers. And how much is Upturned table at? Top 100, right?
We're not even in a partner yet on Twitch, so they don't got nothing on us.
Nothing.
Yeah. So what is Critical Role? What were their numbers?
I think people had to sort through the numbers, and I
right.
think there was some like kind of conversions or whatever. So I think the first numbers were wrong. I think the total we're at now is something like 9.2 million, and I think I saw something that said like over 2 years.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Of course.
So over 2 years, right?
Yeah, right.
So like 5.7 million over one, or 4.7 over one.
Yeah.
Math. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah,
Wow.
and apparently,
Yeah.
we should not be focusing on that.
No,
because
no,
those
no.
are scraps. We should be really complaining about Jeff Bezos and all his billions of dollars.
Oh
right?
yeah, that's the problem. Yeah.
We can multitask. Right?
Wow, I wonder how that compares to the ASMR channels and stuff on Twitch. Yeah, that's amazing. But yeah, I mean they're basically they've probably been an LLC for a long time.
Yeah,
so
I think
they're
2014.
Yeah, so they're running. I hope they're paying their taxes because all this stuff is still kind of amorphous about what you owe. So if there
were a couple things about that. I forget who did it, but I think someone did a really good kind of not breakdown, but basically they looked at like the top 100 people in that list, and they were well into the 40s or 50s before they hit like a non-white dude.
Oh wow!
So they were kind of like, okay, like
interesting.
The point was like Twitch can talk a good game about wanting diversity. Here are the people that are making it, and we got to go down like halfway down the list before we hit someone who's not a white guy.
Right. Yeah, but that's the problem that they run into with all kinds of content. Is so you want to diversify, but it's like, well, just like films in China, you can't put anybody of color in a movie, a Hollywood movie releasing in China and expect anyone to come, just because it's become that's
unfortunately the demographic.
Yeah. And also too, it's you get to see something exotic. There's people in India or whatever that want to watch people that don't look like them because so.
Oh, the flip side is like I think I kind of had this kind of discussion before where maybe I brought it up last time. That Kubo and the Two Strings, where I was watching it going, why do we have fucking Charlize Theron and what's his face doing the voice actor? And my partner, who's Japanese, is just like, it's kind of nice to see Japanese culture represented. And I'm like, my point was like, this isn't really Japanese culture, right? And we had like one guy, like maybe George Takei, doing like the one kind of bit voice, and her point was just like, it's nice to see it on the big screen. I'm like, okay, that kind of gave me some perspective.
Like, I think it is definitely different, and like Asian American perspective is different from just Caucasian American. So their thinking is very we can't really decide for them what to be
that's it. Yeah, you can't like again, some more good stuff. Like unless you're in that group, you get to make absolutely no decisions for that group, right? It's like you can
guys, don't you want to be offended? Come on. You can encourage, So that's interesting. The money, because that doesn't even count the donations or whatever, the Streamlabs and everything. That's big business. And they can shut that down at any time. That's the thing that's crazy. Is
I think they would though.
Well, no, if they're taking a cut, they won't. But if there's any, if you're problematic in any way, they can just go, oh yeah, that's right.
I think it would. Yeah, I have no idea how Twitch works, at least on the back end, or how much Twitch is making from that. I think like most social media platforms, in rage and anger drives clicks. So you would have to, I think, hey, I'm saying it, especially being like a cast of all white people, right? You'd have to do something real horrible.
Yeah.
For Twitch to go, no, we're going to turn you
but
off
it would,
once you get up there.
But they would have to. But if some real serious hate got focused on them, and then it was just like ongoing and became like harassment and everything. So I don't know. And it also, I've never seen the partnership agreement with Twitch, so I don't know what their controls and what. I'm sure they have.
Upturned tables and big enough.
Right. So they have our 30 followers. We have.
We love each and every one.
But I'm sure they have like morals clauses and stuff. Probably. That they can just say, oh you violated our good intentions.
I mean, that is the kind of getting off topic here, but that is the, I guess, positive and negative of Twitch being its own company, right? Whereas this is free speech does not apply here, right? We're a private company. we get to make the rules,
yeah.
and you want to use our platform, you got to use the rules, and we're the ones who get to enforce it.
Yeah, yeah.
So we can kind of go, no, that's fine.
Oh, yeah, and we've already...
Oh, no, this was... Yeah.
We've already seen their kind of like hit and miss, pick and choose morality with like, young girls showing themselves up, then, not doing anything related to their categories.
Right. No, that was the other point that came up, right? Because that whole thing about, we can't compete with boobs, right? And it's like...
Nothing?
It took again half the list of top 100 people before you hit a non-white guy, So all those people complaining about, we can't compete with like titty streamers. Obviously you can.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, I would have thought for sure the people licking the microphones and stuff was pretty.
As I know none of these people, but as far as I can tell, it's mostly like game bros.
Right. But I guess you're hanging and you're in for the long haul with those guys with their live streams. And with girls doing something that's titillating, it's like, okay, I'm finished.
3 minutes? As soon as you started that, I'm like, oh no, I know where this is going. I don't need to finish this video. Yeah.
My limited attention span is...
Let's leave it at that. Limited attention span.
Yeah. Oh, but that's very interesting. And this is stuff they never would have released.
No, I don't think they would have.
Yeah. Just like, the stuff we're hearing about Facebook, whether or not that's not curated or not.
That was cyber.
Yeah.
Not cyber. That was Shadowrun op.
Yes.
Where it's like, oh, we've got a whistleblower. Summon the team to scrub these servers. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was crazy. Oh, it's out, and their excuse for why it was out is like, oh, we had this problem. We didn't anticipate that we didn't have access to the tools. It's like, what? Yeah. Really? Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll take you for your word. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see because tech companies, it's going to are you with us or against us? The current regime is going to pick and choose who wins.
It's just who knew? An app, a website designed to rate college girls.
Yeah, or to get
into everything now.
Yeah, to get loser guys access to the freshmen.
Yep. Yep. No, I don't want to log in with Facebook. Facebook, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. That's the weird thing that they said is because it's got so much integration where people use their Facebook accounts to log into things. That means when it was down, you can't log into things.
Yeah, I didn't look at the list or anything, but they're like, okay, my thought was this is a problem. Being down affects businesses, right? Really? Yeah. We're cool with this happening?
Yeah, that's a way too much integration. But it's Google has the same problem, and there's so many ways to log into things now that don't involve making a unique account. Anyway. Wow. So that's not very tabletop, but it's going on right now.
It started out tabletop.
Yes, right. That's right. We just suddenly veered. All right. But so
cool.
Let's.
Excuse me.
Let me zoom in on this so I can actually see it.
Hey.
Hey. All right. Cool. So let's get this started. Was there anything else? Not. Yeah. Oh yeah. So the one thing you will be hearing this audio if you are a Patreon subscriber.
Ooh, nice.
Because I'm going to take the audio from the full live stream and sweeten it and do the noise reduction and everything and release that on the private RSS feed. So if you do join the Patreon at any level, you'll have access to the audio for this. So you can just subscribe to that and have access to this at any time. So you don't need to see the live stream, or you don't even need to dig in the archive to hear all of the banter related to tabletop.
I got to up my game then. All right.
Right. Yes, now we're doing premium content.
We'll be Twitch affiliates in no time.
Yeah, right.
Partners, affiliates? I don't know.
Yeah, but the milestones for Twitch partnership is just like, oh, come on, guys. Like, are you streaming 4 days a week? Is it over 4 hours every stream? It's like, oh, really?
Yeah.
So I'm going to move back in with my parents, right? If I want to be a Twitch partner.
Yeah, this is why, one of the people kind of complaining at work, I'm like, no, if you turn this into a job, it's a job.
Yeah.
Right? You're not doing anything else. You're spending pretty much all your time doing that. So, back to Critical Role, not saying Critical Role didn't earn their 9.2 or however many millions of dollars, right?
And really, if you combine the voiceover salaries of all of those individuals, the career that they had before they started doing Critical Role, they were making probably combined that same kind of money. That's
Oh, come
good.
on, they're living in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's good money. Yeah, I mean, that,
Yeah.
their combined salaries for voiceover, so that's not like suddenly their their lifestyle has changed significantly. That's the kind of life they were living. Yeah, it's really interesting. Who thought tabletop would generate that kind of revenue?
Well,
for a single group of players.
it isn't.
Yeah.
Critical Role is,
right.
right?
That's right.
Let's not conflate
Yeah, that's
those
right.
two
There's
things.
us, and then
There's tabletop and then there's Critical Role. Like, I don't see like other people renting out theaters for season 3 of their home campaign.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's true. Yeah, and they really, that was a perfect match of being in LA and all that access, and then the improv thing taking off, and yeah, definitely. Perfect storm. All right.
Cool.
So we won't be talking about that anymore,
No, we
but, but moving on. All right, so let's start this. Welcome to the Weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Chris.
And before we get started this week, I have a special announcement.
Ooh.
So, behold our... Oh, wait for the smoke to clear.
Oh, it was fire. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
wait, sorry. Wait for the smoke to clear. So my special effects are a little off, but we have our first, the alpha. The alpha and omega at this point. The first weekling Patreon level subscriber. So Orcus Dorcas, who is very commonly or very often in the chat, is now our weekling on Patreon. So the strongest of all.
The strongest weekling of all. Yeah.
Strongest of all. So more like maybe a semi-annual or much more than weekly. But thank you so much, Orcus, for supporting us. And it's great to see you in chat. We appreciate you hanging out. And so at the end of the stream, so after the regular episode finishes, I'll jump into chat, and
nice.
All of this audio will then be available in the Patreon.
Cool.
All right. So this week on the Weekly, GaryCon lawsuit. So Luke Gygax responds to so we're not out of the woods yet with TSR-related Gygax family troubles. And Free RPG Day 2021.
That's right.
Chaosium buys Dhole's House, Cthulhu Hack, the Cthulhu Hack bundle,
right?
Bundle of Holding, and a TTRPG bundle for Afghanistan on itch.io. So let's start with the
negative,
the drama. Yeah, so this is very odd. It was just kind of a leak. There was not really a leak, but there was a document posted on a Dropbox that was then reported on by another site. So Tenkar's Tavern downloaded a 100-page legal document and was going through this the details of this lawsuit. So named in the lawsuit were both GaryCon and Luke Gygax. So Luke Gygax wanted to release a statement, and the details are, it mentions Servotronics, which is a parts manufacturer, a knife company, and some other, and they have some other relationships. So in this lawsuit, inappropriate financial relationships are alleged, widespread corruption, misbehavior, toxicity, and dishonesty. I don't know. Some of those don't sound like crimes, but there's also bizarre allegations of forced brothel visits and sexual harassment. So this is the full buffet, I guess, of so it may just be somebody trying to trash the reputation and just to have some peripheral relationship or some sort of financial dealings. And so Luke Gygax released a statement to kind of clarify. So the named business associate Ken Brovnik, here we go. Trovich. There's not enough vowels. I'd like to buy a vowel for that last name. So Ken is not associated with GaryCon and never will be. Ken has never owned GaryCon. GaryCon received some support from associated businesses named in the lawsuit. He addressed concerns around the charity auction and promised that it will be videoed in the future. So maybe that was some of the maybe mishandling, as there was some charity auction and they were debating what happened there. And they acknowledged that there are money fees paid for handling the charity auction and donations. So maybe part of this lawsuit is around an auction they did at the convention. So without reading the 100 pages of this, it's just like, we're back to this again. They're like, people are just very opportunistic and looking to,
often kind of wonder, like, I'm not this isn't the first time I've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, speaking of like full-time jobs, like, who has time to download a 100-page legal document for some kind of hobby bullshit and troll through it? Like, I appreciate people who summarize that.
Mm-hmm.
My attention span and time is like, oh, this tweet is this Twitter thread is 3
Right.
tweets. No, I don't have time.
Yeah.
Says someone who has like they're like hundreds long, right, for game development stuff. But still, like after a certain point, I'm just like, I don't have time for this. So
That may be what they're counting on too. If they can just do a press release or get something in the news,
Right.
GaryCon accused of forced brothel visits or whatever.
That would be a headline. Yeah.
So yeah, this salacious. So maybe we should just go into tabloid tabletop reporting.
I think we should.
Yeah, and we can report on the Bat Boy and then the events of GaryCon.
That boy's still around.
So yeah, I'm sorry to hear this. This is not. I thought this was done. I thought after the last shenanigans, we would be.
It's never going to be done.
So yeah, unfortunately, you got to be careful who you're doing business with.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Midwest, there's some desperate characters because there's not the business. It's scarcer. The funding, the rich. How people have made their money and what they're kind of doing in the Midwest is a lot different from LA or New York, and it's a different scale.
Right.
So you run into some people taking advantage. Yeah, just in my short experience of that, I was surprised the number of shysters that are up trying to pick the bones of the flyover there. But on to happier and free things.
Ooh.
Free RPG Day.
Which is when in 2021?
It is October 16th this year.
So very soon.
Yeah,
So
very
in
soon.
other
So
words,
we've got a
not
week. Yeah.
Way too soon for me to try and put something together.
Right. Yes. So they released a list of some of the publishers involved. And if you haven't heard about this before, it's a free event with local game shops where they're sent packets of physical things, but there's also digital downloads online. So you won't be able to get, like if they release, like if Q Workshop releases dice or something, you're not going to have access to those online, but it's a good way to support your local game store. And I think they also run events, like they'll also run some of these materials or encourage you to do so. And it's a great way to try out new systems and new games with little kind of quick start, one-shot adventures. So, and it's a lot of big participation as usual. So, some of the highlights. So Paizo is there's both Starfinder and Pathfinder as usual, and Bertram's Grove is a booklet for the Root role-playing game.
Oh, cool.
So Magpie will be releasing an adventure for that. Soulbound, the Cubicle 7 Age of Sigmar is releasing Reap and Sow, an introductory adventure to kind of get you into it. And also Cubicle 7's Victoriana, they're releasing Going Underground. So another adventure, so that steampunk fantasy game of theirs. And then in addition, a lot of other contributions would be things like Blue Rose, a medieval fantasy RPG. Dune Adventures in the Imperium has an adventure. Star Trek Adventures, Achtung Cthulhu. So that's all Modifius. Right. Zombicide Chronicles. So I guess Zombicide has an RPG. And so that's come on. And Fantasy Flight is Twilight. Yeah, so Twilight Imperium has an RPG as well.
Yep, that's right.
So in that world, there are adventures, and then Talisman Adventures. So every board game also has an RPG, just in case you were wondering. Yeah, I guess if the setting is been around long enough and there's interesting enough characters, they've tried to do an RPG. I just don't know what systems or mechanics.
Okay. Talisman's pretty much roll and move, right? And then you follow little things. But I mean, there's stuff there. But like other board games, like that one time I played Descent, like because all the stuff got offloaded into fairly compact board game style rules that felt kind of freed us up to role play a lot more. So I can see a lot of fantasy themed or appropriately themed board games kind of having a role playing game component, even if it's like a campaign mode or whatever. Because heck, even I've never played it, but Pandemic has the I forget what it's called, like Legacy or something, where like it's a continuing game. So even if it's like chained little dungeons, hell, Hero Quest.
Oh yeah,
might as well had like an RPG or at least campaign component. So
that's true.
I can see that happening.
Yeah, and it probably isn't. They've got a lot of art assets and everything, so it's probably not hard to produce those books to support things. I mean, if Wendy's could do it, I guess really. Anybody can.
Linking it back to Critical Role, right?
So yeah, that's October 16th this year. So we got about a week away. So check out your local game store. I don't think Japan participates in any way, but your local English-speaking game store.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's been how long since I've been able to get anywhere, and
Right.
the only place I don't even know where to buy RPG books.
Yeah, Yellow Submarine. Yeah, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
They have a section, but I think they stopped doing any English language.
Yeah, they
that
kinda did, yeah.
phased out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
I also heard something about D&D 5e, like after a certain point, around like 2022, I think like Japanese translations, just done.
Wow.
I don't know whether that's coming from Wizards or whatever company is here that localizing.
Oh, Hobby Japan.
I've seen
I think
like
it's Hobby Japan.
change.org or some kind of one of those petition sites like in Japanese with to
Wow.
like keep this going, right?
Interesting. Yeah, if it is Hobby Japan that localized it, they've been dumping a lot of English-speaking stuff. They don't support Warhammer anymore.
Oh, wow.
They used to have a big Warhammer section in their magazine. So interesting that they've just decided. So maybe they just can't get the interest, or like I've experienced trying to sell art and things in Japan. People are really excited in the short term, and it's very unique and interesting. But actually, the long-term interest of people with that like foreign things is very small. It's it's quite tiny.
Well, the thing with D&D, it might also be WotC going. The market in Japan is not big enough for us to pay this expense. So.
Right. And when they've got China right next door, Japan never looks. I mean, Japan is a great loyal, fan base. But if you're talking about just sheer numbers, if that's all you're interested in, then
we're the size of California.
Yeah, right.
Barely. Yeah.
But speaking of Games Workshop, they should pay attention to this next story because this is how it's done.
Ooh.
Okay. So the Call of Cthulhu publisher, Chaosium, just bought Dhole's house. So Dhole is in Dhole.
Right. That kind of big underground worm thing.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So this was a free website for fans, and so players and keepers. There were a lot of resources on this website, all offered for free, but all using the 7th edition rule set. And so people immediately, maybe a little bit worried.
Yeah,
but
understandably so.
But they released a statement saying there's going to be no noticeable changes for existing users. They're going to keep improving the features and functionality and make it a resource to benefit all Call of Cthulhu gamers. So the creator, Lee Carnell, was hired by Chaosium, and so working as an in-house software developer. So this is what you do when someone has developed something amazing. You don't send them a cease and desist. You talk to them, and then you talk to them in kind of good faith.
Right.
Because I think what's happening now with all these animators that have been
with GW.
with Games Workshop, when the Games Workshop was talking to the animators, they give them an NDA that basically forces them to shut everything down to even begin talking, and then probably when they can't come to terms, for compensation or scheduling or whatever, then they just stop talking to them. But they have signed that NDA that's good for 3 years or whatever, and so that keeps them off Patreon, off YouTube, everything without facing legal repercussions.
Right.
So, deal in good faith, talk to these people, and you'll have a valuable asset and someone that's passionate about your game, about your setting, working for your company.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's weird. I wonder if after a certain point or after something gets big enough, if there is kind of a legitimate worry that you'll have a competitor. But like, why wouldn't you bring that under the umbrella of your company, right? Like you said, you have this asset, you have some kind of fan base built in there. People use this site. Like, cool. Well, we want to buy this, right? It's ours now. Go about your business and keep doing it.
Right. And I think when you have somebody passionate about your IP, you want to encourage them to stay interested in your IP instead of getting soured by how you've handled it, how you've dealt with them, and then they do create you have created a competitor in that way,
or a detractor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, someone that's gonna throw some hate on you. Yeah. But so what was this site? I've never used it before, and they give some details. So you can quickly and easily create 70 characters and maintain a library of character sheets. So that's excellent for the lore
Keeper?
Lore keepers. Thank you. 118 occupation templates are supported, and also additional versions, Pulp, Cthulhu, and Gaslight, and then also some modern era story backgrounds. A generator that makes handouts such as in-game artifacts, telegrams, business cards,
I was just supposed to say telegrams.
Newspaper clippings, and calendars. That's brilliant. I mean, that's a great thing that online resources are able to do. It's just put your text on top of a little, and especially when you're dealing with online stuff, you can just hand people.
I hadn't really thought about that. Yeah,
that's really nice. An online dice roller, which will allow you to email the results to people, so you can kind of play a slow turn-based, like through the mail game.
I thought it was a more like, I'm not cheating, look, right?
right.
But yeah, through the mail, that'd be cool.
And also, the dice roller can be set up so it requires players to enter the reason they made the roll and details for what they're doing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's really clever, well thought out. A feature that is no longer working, but they may bring back, and if they have a little bit of funding, was they were also running Twitter bots that would act as characters. So they're running bot characters that you could then interact with as NPCs.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So a lot of love and a lot of attention went into this. So it makes so much sense for Chaosium to embrace it instead of saying that's our IP, get rid of it. You can't use any of our.
The only other experience I've had with this is kind of with GW, like you said, where they've kind of moved all their codices, because that's what they still are to me, like onto like an app or something.
Yeah.
And it just kind of seems like whenever a company, or in my limited experience, whenever a company buys something like this and shuts it down and then puts out like their version is just not as good.
Right. Yeah, because it doesn't have the passion in it. It just has people that are punching the clock that you're saying, hey.
As someone who punches the clock, like, I want to say from 9 to 5. It's not. It's from like 9 to 6. Anyway.
Yeah. Because the app that you would develop for yourself to use in your tabletop sessions would be different from the one you would make for your measly salary from another company. So yeah, that's a big difference. So yeah, and so this was all available for free, but as proof that this was a valuable asset to people, there were over 200 people that bought a coffee for Lee on Ko-fi. So there was support in people thanking the developer. So it's good to see that they're going to actively be doing things. And I'm sure there's so many ideas the developer has of things they want to implement, and he's only going to bring that to Chaosium. So
hopefully now they can implement those.
Yes, yeah. So looking good. And speaking of Cthulhu, the Cthulhu hack is now on Bundle of Holding.
Yeah, I looked at that. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you don't know, so this is based on this. If you don't like the crunch and percentiles and hit locations and whatever all the detail of that early kind of basic role playing system that Call of Cthulhu uses, you can strip it down using basically the system of the black hack.
Yep.
Right? So this is kind of customized. So you're basically rolling, d20s for skill. You only have like two. There's just two mechanics: saves and resources. So you're rolling, you're rolling d20 saves, and there's advantage and disadvantage with d20s, and then rolling resource rolls.
I think I had an early, maybe Ashcan-ish edition of the Cthulhu hack, only because I liked the black hack so much. It's because it's like you said, D20 roll under. Yeah. Right? And it's all player facing, where like the GM doesn't roll the dice. It's just monster attacks you, make your armor save, right? Or that kind of thing. So I looked at the Cthulhu hack, and I don't know. I think it didn't grab me as much as I thought it would, only because sometimes I think like when you go like a profession, sometimes it doesn't fit into like a class structure a little bit. Right, yeah. But I still really like the role that they kept, like the roll under mechanics. And like you said, if you're kind of daunted by all the crunch that goes into a Chaosium Call of Cthulhu, this would be a good alternative where you're just like, things are kind of stripped down, but I'm sure you still have the things that make it kind of a Cthulhu game, such as, essentially sanity points.
Right. Yeah, they have some of the mechanics that were created for the system specifically were wealth, fortune, adrenaline, and shock. So those were all kind of tweaked to work well. And it's using, of course, the Cthulhu mythos. So if you're into that, and the core book itself contains Save Innsmouth as the kind of starting adventure. But you'll need like a full set of polyhedral dice because there's going to be a lot. Yeah, there's not just d20s. There'll be other rolls. For certain things, and I think maybe like resource rolls and stuff, because I think it's similar to what they did for Forbidden Lands, because I remember when we were reviewing that system and people were talking about that, like that's black hack.
Usage dice, kind of thing like that. Or I could see that, where like it starts out at a die type, and every time you use it, you roll it, and if you roll like a certain small number, it degrades to a next smaller die, and things kind of go down and down and down. I could see that in a Cthulhu game for, like you said, like wealth, adrenaline, or shock. That'd be a nice kind of visual way. Actually, I like that mechanic a lot, the usage die and how it kind of ticks down. And it's a nice visual way to say your die type is getting smaller, right? So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I like that with luck mechanics and things too. Yeah, if you you can roll your luck, but you lose it every time. Yeah, nice. So for just under $6, you can get the core book, Game Master reference, and a lot of the kind of starting adventures, 3 mini source books, and a lot of supporting materials. And that's just the basic level. And then the level up is the D sanction, and so that's the bonus collection includes 5 Cthulhu hack investigations, and those are Hunters in the Dark, Mother's Love, 3 Faces of the Wendigo, Throw Centuries Fixed, and Valkyrie 9. So that's it's a big chunk of money. So about $43 retail for $9.50 if you level up. But of course, with Bundle of Holding, that grows. They run their little algorithm, so it changes as people support it. But yeah, the starting price was $9.50. So I'll put a link to that, and you can check that out. And that all goes to support the Beechwood Cancer Center. So it's of course, Bundle of Holdings for charity. So you can get something you may be interested in, digital versions, and
DRM free too.
Yes, that's a nice thing too. Is you get your Wizards cabinet, so you can just download them as PDFs. You're not running through anything. Things aren't going to be watermarked with your name and email address all over them or anything.
I might have to get this because, one, I'm interested in seeing how they do like investigation style mysteries, right? Because investigation style mysteries can really hit or have the potential to hit a brick wall if there's some crucial plot element that's hidden behind a die roll.
Yes, right.
But I've seen people, I think rightly so, kind of say that, but if you give the players all the clues, sometimes it doesn't feel mystery-y enough, right? So I kind of want to see how they've set up scenarios or mysteries, investigations like that. Right. Also,
that's a good point.
There's a game that I really like, and I forget the author, maybe I'll have to put a link, called Cthulhu Deep, I think it's Cthulhu Deep Green. It's basically Trophy Dark, but as like Mythos investigators.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So it's even more stripped down.
Right.
Just you're going to roll a die whenever you try and do this thing. Are you risking your sanity? Are you risking your body? And that was a bit more to my taste than the Cthulhu hack. Cthulhu hack was still a bit too crunchy than what I wanted, but I might have to get this just to see if those investigation ideas can be like ported over to Cthulhu Deep Green.
That's cool. Yeah, and the kind of ticking clock of Trophy works nice. Like, the doom approaching, that works perfectly with...
That's what it is, like your sanity ticks up, and like once you hit 6, like your investigator's gone. Right? So
nice. Well, that's very cool. Yeah, so, sorry. I'll put a link to that. And one more bundle to talk about this week. So a TTRPG bundle to support Afghanistan. So dozens of indie RPGs for $20 to aid those that have been targeted by the Taliban. So this is available on itch.io. So the bundle for Afghan support is curated by librarians and leviathans. Cool. And so 70 games by 40 different creators. Wow. Yeah, so it's a lot of stuff. So solo rules for miniature war games and hacks of existing RPGs, Pathfinder, Honey Heist, Lasers and Feeling. So a lot of content. Some of the highlights they said were Book Reprocessing Machine 5 by Jan Martin, turning old books into poetry. Arena battles in a post-apocalyptic Scandinavia, Fever Pit.
Okay.
A tarot-based 2-player game, Tarot Telling for 2. Meditations on Death in Today's Passing. Bahir Gauss's It Was Never Yours, a game that sees you robbing a British museum in the post-Brexit Britain.
Love that title. It Was Never Yours.
So returning it. And a single page RPG, Steamed Hams, based on the Simpsons meme with Super Nintendo charmers.
Super Nintendo. That's good.
All right. But yeah, so it looks like it's a lot of stuff. Yeah, they say combined value is $267 for $20. And it goes to a good cause. They released an explanation on the page, or they posted an explanation on the page about who they're supporting. So most of the families that are in hiding and moving locations every few days to escape the Taliban. They cannot go to banks. They cannot cash out. They cannot go shopping for food or essentials. They don't have money left to top up their phones. So the thing that this is supporting is the phone credits for Afghans account.
Okay.
So it's giving people, this campaign is giving people access to basically phone calls and things, so they can call, they can communicate with lawyers and foreign organizations to help them. And so they cannot access information about security threats or evaluation options, and they cannot maintain contact with family and friends in Afghanistan or abroad. So this will run until the end of October. And it sounds like a great cause. It's nice that they could move so fast on this, because this is a recent development from this summer. So it's nice. And it's good to see Tabletop supporting good causes and putting the popularity and the kind of fan bases behind things like this.
Because I've kind of wondered about, maybe get into, I've kind of wondered about the, not ethics, but I mean, like these bundles and like bundle of holding and like these fundraisers. It's kind of like, do you want these games? Right? And so like I've bought stuff where I'm just like, I like this cause, so the games are kind of ancillary.
Yeah,
I'll look at them when I get a chance. Other time I'm like, I'm really interested in this game. Why not pay a little bit more, or sometimes a little bit less for the game if the money's also going to a charity? So.
Yeah, at first, when this became super popular, it's like they did it with video games and everything. Like about 10 years ago, this just started, and I was a little concerned that they're kind of, trying to break down your impulse buy. It's like, oh, I'd really like to have that, and it's like, oh, it's for a good cause, so it makes you click the button easier. But I think it's been around long enough that there hasn't been scandal or hasn't been lawsuits connected to how they're dealing with charities and stuff. So it seems like they've done everything above board. At least Bundle of Holding and Humble Bundle, as far as I know, have done, and itch.io.
We haven't heard anything yet.
So we haven't heard anything about misappropriation or anything, unlike GaryCon, but allegations. It's a good thing, and I'm glad that it proved itself instead of just mysteriously going away when we found out.
Like all those NFT artists, right?
Right.
Whoops, you got your money. We're gone.
Right.
I promise it'll be the one time I bring them up.
Nice. So that is it for this week. So
cool.
A change that's coming with the Patreon. So now the audio for this episode will be available, the full audio. So I'll jump on the chat after we say goodbye and kind of do question and answer and talk to everybody that's online. And all of that is going to go into the Patreon RSS feed for the episode. And the regular part of the episode, of course, is available wherever you get your podcast. So Upturned Tables Weekly is everywhere, even Amazon Music. We just were added to Amazon Music.
Putting more pennies in Bezos' pocket, eh?
We can't help it. So thank you for joining us. And where can people find you?
On Twitter, as always. That's Hivemind, HYVEMYND, where I'm still doing Tabletoptober.
Oh, nice.
So like day 8. It'll be day 8.
Nice.
And really seeing the appeal and usefulness of those GW contrast paints.
Oh, yeah.
I wish to God they were not 1,060 yen a pot. That's kind of ridiculous. So it's like, oh, hey, look, you can buy the whole set for $300, right? For like 48 paints, something. I'm just like,
yeah. And unfortunately, paints, and especially like rattle cans and things, you can't import. They have to come through the sources because of all the chemicals and combustible kind of stuff that they have to deal with.
Oh yeah.
Importing it. So we can't get it from eBay or anything into Japan. So they got us.
Yeah, they got us. Yeah. But for people who are maybe a little bit older, whose eyes maybe don't work quite so well, and whose hands don't really go where you want them to go, sometimes I'm like, wow, these contrast paints are fantastic. I can just kind of slap it on and it stays. Yeah,
definitely.
Cool. So how about you?
So I do a weekly single panel gag cartoon, so Abuse Cartoons on both YouTube and Twitch, and you can go to abusecartoons.com to see everything I've done, books and everything that I've released with the cartoons. And if you want to see the archive of the couple thousand cartoons that I've done for that series, go to gocomics.com/domestic abuse. And if you'd like to become a weakling, and follow in the footsteps of our alpha, Orcus Dorcas, please consider supporting this podcast on patreon.com/upturnedtable. We've got a lot of exclusive stuff that's coming out. I'm doing a lot of the audio fiction readings that are going on. And that's also on the RSS feed as well, that are going directly into the Patreon. And I might try to, I think what's going to happen is those will also be in the membership. So if you see the join button below us on YouTube, if you become a member, those audio fiction files will also be available. There'll be YouTube videos, so there will be a little animation, but they will be available for members on YouTube as well. So if you're not a fan of Patreon, don't want to get involved in that, but you do have an account on YouTube, then subscribe to us and then also click join to become a member and have access to all those member files.
Cool.
And that's it. So Upturned Table on all social media everywhere. And upturnedtable.com.
Cool. That's
it for this week. We'll do this again next week.
Later, mortals. Bye.
Goodbye.
Sweet.
All right.
So I probably got to bounce, but
yes.
Awesome that you can jump in the chat.
Yeah, that's cool. Oh yeah, and the Blood Bowl. That's right. So what is it, like week 5 in the NFL, and we're gonna probably be putting together some fantasy football. Yeah, you've got Amazons on the way.
I on the way from Italy because that's where Fireforge Games is based. I bought 12 hard plastic dwarf models only because that's what the Kickstarter was for. To like get dwarf models for their fantasy range, and I'm like, oh, look at my Amazons, and I'm like, I feel really weird about kind of backing a Kickstarter
and then
for add-ons,
right,
without getting something that the Kickstarter was for. I felt kind of weird.
Yeah,
but I also looked at them, and the kit I got gives like double-handed weapon, single-handed weapon, shield, and all this. I'm like, that works really well for Frostgrave.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
That's kind of why.
Cool.
I got it. So I have enough extra Frostgrave bits to do that. And I've got, 16 resin Amazons on the way. So
very cool. Yeah, Games Workshop just released that made-to-order their old metal Amazon stuff for the Blood Bowl team, the old metal Amazons. They don't hold up, though. I mean, there's nostalgia there, but when you look at like what sculptors are doing now, and even in kind of retro styles, like they're current people that are making like STLs for 3D printing, and it's got a retro look, but it's not as wonky as the kind of the sculpted wax of the 90s. Yeah.
Like part of the reason why I got this Amazon team, and like because I got the team and the star player Zinnia, who actually is carrying a chakram, so big surprise there, right? Like I looked at them and I'm like, oh, cool. They're showing skin, but they're not the ridiculous kind of pinup model style. Like, okay, look, there's some of them are a little cheesy, and I didn't get the cheerleaders because I'm like, okay, that like the doctor and the sorcerer and the other ones kind of skewed a bit too pinup-y for me. But I'm like, no, they kind of look like they're actually playing football instead of just like right. Like, no, okay, they're playing, not just like this is not the Blood Bowl swimsuit calendar posing. We're actually playing.
Oh,
right?
that's cool. So, cool. Yeah, and there's a lot of, I was looking around there's a lot of alternative rule sets for Blood Bowl.
Oh, cool.
And I'd also like to take a look at like things that people have developed to play fantasy football that's not Blood, just kind of inspired.
Football
or just
/ rugby?
Yeah, right. And just kind of an answer to Blood Bowl, because anything you could play with regular D6s is far preferable to, having to be tied to their custom dice. And
we should try and make a game that's like Blood Bowl, but that is actually American football.
Yeah, that's purely American football.
Yeah.
Right.
None of this. You go until the ball hits the ground. No,
Right. Yeah, no, that's true.
4 downs to get it a certain numbered space.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. I want to look and see if anybody has done that, because it seems like that's an obvious move, because, British appreciation of American football, whatever. It's a parody, and that's what was charming about it, is that they're making fun of the kind of what if it's orcs and what if it's like total Smash Mouth with elves and
I did like that too, like pulling out my old book and reading through it, and like the little lore about the god Nuffle and all this stuff. And then as a kid going, the NFL, right? And it's like a parody, like GW, like 40K was originally.
Right, like it used to be, until they lost their sense of humor.
Yeah. How long until we get Blood Bowl Grim Dark Edition, right? Everything's just serious. Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
But good.
Okay. Awesome. So I got to bounce, and thanks for hanging out, and see everybody later.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll got some Frostgrave or something in our future. Yeah. So not this weekend, but next. Yeah, hopefully we'll.
I'm trying to decide on what wizard I want to do.
Oh yeah.
Because like the ones I'm putting together now, I'm like, they're the necromancers, they're the bad team. I'm like, We've seen a necromancer. And
Right.
That goddamn bone guy.
Have you? So you have second edition rules?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
I got a second edition rules.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I think they did some nice streamlining and fixed some of the spells that you never use. I think that was the discussion we had when that first came out. Is they took things that people never choose, spells that were kind of useless, and actually made them function well.
Right. Because spell choice seems pretty important.
Yes. All praise McCullough. His rule sets are amazing. Yeah. And alive. Okay.
Cool.
See you next week. All right. All right. So let me jump in the chat here and see what's going on. So thanks again, Orcus, for backing us on Patreon. And so yeah, that new so that all that audio content is going to be available. And like I said as well, it's going to go on to the membership for YouTube. We haven't done that. We haven't done that before, but we have the tiers and everything are all set up, so there will be new content. Nice. There we go. So good to see everybody in chat. Hey, Joe, how's it going? Oh, sorry, I'm getting a weird... of course. I can't see the full chat. Of course. There we go. Nice. Oh, hey, K5, how's it going? Yes. Oh, I didn't put. I misspelled your name, Orcus. Oh, sorry about that. Oh man, it's a K. Sorry, it was just a quick graphic that I put together. But cool. And hey, Matt, yeah, thanks for watching. As the Gygax turns, exactly. That's got to be the name of the the developments in the world of Gygax and TSR. Yeah, there's the guy that wrote Playing with the World is doing a kind of a history of the conflict between Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson. So we'll get, and he's very good at doing objective kind of history of things. So we'll kind of see some of the details that maybe we didn't know about that falling out and how his name was taken off of, future editions of Dungeons and Dragons and things. The famous rivalry there, or not rivalry, just the kind of falling. What is that? The falling apart of that friendship. Nice, but yeah, we got to get the music back on. I think I've got the content claims under control for the original music, so we'll get that back on. I'm still crediting the original song, but we swapped out with some just generic for a while, but very cool. Oh, Abuse Cartoons is the so if you just search Abuse Cartoons on YouTube or Twitch, that channel should come up, and abusecartoons.com is the website for that. But yeah, so that happens every Tuesday, so Monday night North American time, but Tuesday around a little after lunch, so early afternoon in Japan, if you're in Australia or Asia. Nice. Yeah, but good to see everybody. Yeah, so that's something that Chris and I were talking about, is enjoying the fantasy themed football game like Blood Bowl, but the newer editions are getting more and more serious. The miniatures are getting less funny, and we wanted to take a look at a rule set that was actually felt more like NFL as opposed to British interpretation of NFL. So yeah, I'm going to look online and see what we can find, and if we can't find anything that looks fun to play, maybe we'll put together a homebrew of some fantasy football for this football season. And it's really bad that they called this fantasy football, because now you search fantasy football and it's a totally different thing. I mean, it changed from what it used to be in the 80s. When you said that meant orcs and wizards, and now it means basically gambling, a gambling system for people, for football nerds. Nice. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll have to. I haven't. The only thing I've read of his was playing at the World, and that's a tome. That's a really huge history. But it's the evolution of early tabletop from wargaming. So starting with Napoleonics and everything, and how it the Avalon Hill games and how it kind of turned into what we know as tabletop, and so much detail, and of course the kind of chronicling of early Gen Con and everything is part of that playing at the World. So very nice history. It's pretty dry though, because it's a lot of facts and dates and things. So it's a history book, and not so much less analysis and more kind of chronology. Oh, thank you, Joe. Yes, there's the channel for Abuse Cartoons. As always, my amazing mod, Joe. I appreciate that. Very cool. And oh man, yeah, that's great. Oh, good. Oh yeah. So, yeah, the audio itself, we just decided to do better mics. I think early on we were just using a shared Yeti microphone, but that doesn't gate as well, and it kind of pulls in a lot of external audio. So we switched to more professional mics and a mixer. So that's what I'm always hiding behind books and things, is just the mixer is just sitting on the table between us, and then that goes right into the PC for our live stream. And so that gives me control too over our voices. If we're speaking at different levels, I can adjust that on the fly. So yeah, it's a nicer setup than I think a lot of people do with podcasts or live streams, especially because we're not just talking into like a shared mic sitting on the table. But yeah, thanks Matt. Appreciate the and that's also why we decided that it's probably worth taking the audio out of the full episode and then sweetening it, doing all the normalizing and compression, so that it's nice to listen to on its own, because you do have a little bit of speaking of, I'm gonna have to do the few seconds of silence. Yeah, you have a little bit of air conditioning and traffic noise, but I can filter that out through Audacity. So let me do that really quickly right now. So a moment of silence for the reputation of GaryCon, I guess. We'll do that. But give me a few seconds here so I can get rid of some of this room tone. There we go. So that'll make things sound much nicer on the audio. And of course, I'll cut out the dead air in the audio version so you won't hear that. But yeah, and I don't want to waste Chris, because Chris is on lunch right now when we do this recording. So I don't want to waste those those precious 30 seconds that we could be talking about something. Nice. Oh, the video is just a Sony Handycam video out, and it's just like one of those dongles that takes an HDMI signal and turns it into USB, and then you can bring it up into OBS. So we were using a 4K camera before, and I think we were pushing too much video, and it kept crashing the little adapter, the video adapter. But those are pretty cheap. You can get the kind of cheap Chinese ones for like $20 or so, maybe $20-$30, and they do an okay job. This video is not as nice as the Camlink one I was using before. So when I do unboxings and things from home, I use the Elgato Camlink, so that can take 4K and looks a lot nicer. But but we were having trouble with the camera going into that, so switched over. Yeah, if you remember those days of freezing live streams, Joe and K5, I'm sure, remember those well, where we had to keep restarting. The audio keeps going, but of course the video freezes. Yeah, so just using a nicer camera. So I'm not using like a DSLR camera or anything. It's just mid-range video camera, but take the HDMI out of that, and of course turn off the overlay and everything, and that just becomes a webcam. just using it like a webcam to go into OBS as a source. I love that as the Gygax turns. Nice. But yeah, so that was that's basically how and it's been a kind of an evolution of figuring out what works and what doesn't work. If you listen to especially early Idle Red Hands, it's everybody sitting around a table talking into a shared Yeti mic, and then you can't control different voice levels. And then when everybody started to get busy in those early days, they did it remotely, so that they're on like a Skype call or something, but everyone is running Audacity independently. They sync the tracks and then edit them together, like do a multi-track edit. And so then they control the individual levels and the noise, background noise of each track. But that's pretty labor intensive for just like a weekly hour podcast. But they came up with good quality. So this seemed to be a good way, the best of both worlds, because we can have kind of a live event and interact with people in the chat, and then also have a decent level of audio and video that we can then put on YouTube. But yeah, and I like because that was the original frustration when this podcast, when it was still named Idle Red Hands. I think the frustration that a lot of the members had is there was just so little interaction. They had some social media interaction, but as far as comments on individual podcast episodes, it just didn't really exist. And I think the live stream helps it be, there's an archive of the live stream, so we can still have comments on the individual episodes, but there's a live chat. And that's a more recent development too. So maybe that, really wasn't even an option, because that was 10 years ago. Like they started, it was 2011, I think was their first episode. So yeah, 10 years ago was their first episode. So I don't think live streaming was an option. And the equipment just, it existed, but it was way too expensive. Everything came down so much. And as far as turning a camcorder into a webcam, that's a very new development and cost a lot more. So there we go. There's the technical side of everything. And just as far as what we're doing, we're just in the corner of what is my studio or office in the city. That's why you hear the traffic. And then I've got you can see them. Whoa, there's two big soft boxes for light off camera. So to try to soften and get everything, so try not to have really deep shadows or anything. So there's two big lights and a camera on a tripod. That's all going into a PC. So that's the setup. And we need to upgrade. It would be nice to do multiple cameras and things, and eventually. So I think for more formal recordings of detailed reviews, I think multi-camera would be a nice way to go. It'd be nice to have 3 cameras and be able to switch between, but that would mean either editing the multiple cameras or having like a controller or producer doing it on the fly. So it's a lot more people than have free time right now. That's why we're taking advantage of Chris's lunch, and that was really a godsend. Chris's office used to be pretty far away and then moved really close to this office. So now it was very easy for us to just meet up at lunch. And we were just meeting up to actually eat lunch and talking, and then realized we could just be doing a podcast, because we're basically doing an unrecorded podcast while we're waiting for our Subway sandwiches or whatever to get fixed. Nice. Oh, nice. Yes. K5, all the sushi you can eat. Yeah, that would be great. I'd love and that was the thing that I a few times we did that, where I was the producer and just kind of ran things like monitored chat and did everything while we did live streams. And that's really fun, and it makes it a more full-time production. But yeah, we got to get the Patreon going, and we got to get our views and everything up to then be able to afford that, so we can actually compensate a producer. So someday, that's what we'll need, is the producer level of producer tier on Patreon. All right. Well, it's good to see everybody in the chat. Thank you, Joe and K5, for hanging out. Good to see you, Matt. And Dorcas, sorry for the misspelling, but thank you so much for supporting what we're doing. And take a look at the RSS feed. So that's now available. So these episodes, the audio, the complete audio, so pre and post, of the actual podcast is going to go on Patreon. The regular episode from when we say welcome to when we sign out is going to be the regular episode available on Stitcher and Apple Podcasts and Google and all that good stuff. So yeah, we'll kind of see how much that kind of premium thing works. And I think also as that develops, we'll start to do, so maybe I'll have extra topics that I don't need Chris for. So, talking a little bit about Blood Bowl or whatever, I'll have extra things. So when Chris has to go, I can do a little bit more review or content. And yeah, that's a thing. The next thing that's going to be coming up that I'll be doing kind of an unboxing for is I just got the first Enemy Within, the kind of deluxe set that Cubicle 7 did. And so I'll show you guys what that looks like. I think people have done some unboxings of that, but I want to talk a little bit about what I'm doing with that campaign, because I'm running it with Warlock. Using a Warlock's system, but running the Enemy Within. So we can go through, I'll do a page flip through. You can see the amazing art that went into the Cubicle 7 version, but maybe I'll flip back and forth too between the first edition version, so you can see some of the things. They toned things down, they watered things down, and they kind of changed some of the more humorous or the more miserable. There's a lot of really miserable things that can happen to you that set apart Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay from D&D. There was definitely a grubby fantasy. Everything's broken. Everyone's corrupt. No one's the good guys. That part of the setting really, really came through in the original version of the campaign. So we'll take a little bit of a look at what they did, and maybe because they're trying to refine it for people whose experience of tabletop is 5e only, so that may be a reason why they did what they did. But it'll be a nice thing to compare, because as I'm running it too, these things are coming up, and so I'm pulling so much from that first edition book, because there's really good characters and really good encounters that just get in your way that don't exist as much. And maybe it's just because they wanted to streamline it. They wanted to make it easier to run as a GM. They didn't want to have so many things complicating the player character's progression. But yeah, so we'll take a look at that. I like the art. They did a good job with the art, but they did. I think I called it. I told Chris it was toothless, so it feels a little toothless compared to the original version. And I'll be doing notes too on my conversion of that. So if anybody wants to use that, they can kind of the character stats and everything that I did for my conversion. I'll put that all together. Maybe as a blog post would be good too, but a PDF and then maybe an ongoing blog would be useful. Nice. Yeah, that's true. It's funny how those things evolve and how much we realized, we this could just be a podcast because we're just talking it through. Very cool. Oh, really good. Joe is hungry now because I mentioned Subway, right? Waiting for lunch. Yeah, so yeah, I want to put that together more formally and just do maybe an ongoing, after every session, kind of recounting what happened and how it worked. But the Warlock is written really well to take probably both fighting fantasy and Warhammer fantasy roleplay content and work it in, because a lot of the careers line up really well. And you're not really missing anything. The skills, because it's a 2-stat system, so you only have stamina and luck. So you can't just say, roll dexterity or roll strength for certain things. But the adventurous skill list does give you enough flexibility. So there is, athletics, and there is looking, or there's, I'm stuck with the Call of Cthulhu, the name of that skill, but you can observe things. So there's enough of the investigation, stealth, and physical that it's all covered. The only thing I think I mentioned that before. The only thing I had to add was black powder weapons. So original Warlock didn't have a skill for black powder, and so I had to add that because that's right away. There's pistols and blunderbusses, flintlock pistols. In Warhammer Fantasy, in Enemy Within. Nice. Nice. Butterscotch pudding for K5. Nice. Yeah, I got to get some lunch here. Oh, man. Yeah, that's the thing. The only problem is it worked well when we were having a discussion because we could, talk and eat at the same time. But I think if we were eating and talking on microphone, nobody would want to listen to that. That's such an unpleasant, an unpleasant sound. So we defeated the point of lunch by, talking through it and not eating. So I think both Chris and I are like eating in our desks so we can do the podcast. Ah, nice. Oh, very cool. Oh, wow. That's right. We have to do a mukbang after the weekly. We have to do the stuffing ourselves with Japanese fast food. Nice. Oh, yeah. Titan. That's very cool. Yeah, I like how, and I'm running the Enemy Within Warlock for players that don't have a lot of experience with anything like outside of D&D. So I think it works well because the simplified rule set, so it's not like a whole other daunting thing to learn. There we go. It's not a whole daunting thing to learn. The two stats and the adventuring skills kind of make sense. It's just the advances, the XP system is advances. So you get a number of advances for either role play or tasks that you accomplish during a session. So that's a little bit different. So you're just putting like single points into things. So different from XP levels and things. So I'm hoping I can keep enough incentive because I think with newer role players or people that their experience, both of the players that I'm running it for now, I've probably played more World of Warcraft than they have tabletop. So that expectation of new goodies and things, coming to you after every session or pretty regularly, they need incentive. So I'm working to make sure that happens enough. Even though that's not an old school, that's not as common with old school, but I want to make sure it feels, or at least that their experience of using either banking or spending the advances between sessions is satisfying. Very cool. All right. Oh, thanks. Yeah. Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Orcus, I will spell your name correctly next time. I promise. But you did. I hope you get to see the fire transition. Yeah, I wanted to come up with something, not balloons and confetti, but great. So that is all for this week. So check out the RSS feed if you are on Patreon, and you can hear this full audio with a little bit of a sweeter sound than what you'll get on YouTube. And please subscribe to the channel if you want to be notified of when we go live and see the other content that we've been producing for Upturned Table. And give us a like. That'll help us help this get recommended to other people. So thanks everyone for watching, and yeah, everybody take care. So yeah, nice. K5 Joe, thanks again for hanging in the chat, and good to see everybody. We will do this again next week. So everybody take care, and see you then. Goodbye.